Yeah, they had a town here. Remember like Fort Blakely?
Okay, so they had a war over here, but lived right here.
Yeah.
This is basically a war right outside your house, right?
Well, that's what happened during. Remember the movie Patriot?
Yeah.
When he said that when we have these wars, it's not going to be a war on some battlefield.
It's gonna be war in our backyards.
Basically, so our children can witness.
The death.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Historical Whitetail Road. All right, you guys. So right here we have a replica of looks like a lady and a little boy next to a sign that says Whitehall Road. Now, right here is a little plaque that talks about the women and child. As many as 100 loyalist families took refuge in the town of 96 during the 1781 siege. They had to suffer the same hardship and disease as the loyalist soldiers. After the battle, many families followed the British Army to Charleston, never to return to 96. And then right here, you guys, we have a little road sign. So you got the old Charlestown and the Killowee, which was Native American, Island Ford, and then Augusta. And that is Augusta, Georgia, if you guys are not familiar. Which is that way. Charlestown is that way. Killowee is that way. And Island Ford is right where we were earlier. So with that being said, we're gonna keep on moving forward. That's cool, baby. The Charlestown.
I know. That must be where they have their crops and stuff.
Yeah, all that farm. There's an old jail out here too.
Is there really?
Yeah. And
Just picturing the houses right here. I should have some of those old houses right here.
yeah. Well, you gotta think about it. It'd be hard to conserve all them because that was like 1700s.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is why the town doesn't exist anymore. The British burned 96. All right, you guys. So we coming up on another plaque. On July 1781, why did the British burn 96? The quiet field before you was the site of once thriving 1700 town of 96. In 1781, it had a dozen homes, a courthouse, and a jail. When Lieutenant Colonel Kruger arrived in 1780, he fortified it against attack. One visitor observed its house, which was entirely of wood, were compressed within a stockade. The commandment immediately set the garrison, both officers and men, to work to throw up a bank, permanent high, and around the stockade, and to strengthen it with abyss. During the siege of 1781, many loyalist families from the backcountry, fleeing from Greene's advancing Patriot army, took refuge in the fortified town, packed into the stockade village, already filled with Kruger's troops and sick or wounded soldiers carried out from the Star Fort. These refugees lived in a constant fear of Patriot gunfire and dwelling food and water supplies. After the Patriots' defeat, Kruger was ordered to evacuate the town. The British command decided that 96 was too far from Charleston and too deep in hostile territory to be of further value to their cause. So in July 1781, Kruger's men with loyalist families in tow abandoned the village and burned it to the ground, denying Patriots further use of the site. So this is them, British, burning the town and walking through the road. So these are all so let's see what that sign says way over there. So there is the S Village corner, and then right over here is SW Village corner. So kind of gives you an idea of each of the locations and what has the town may have looked like during its time of occupation. Kind of wish that the British didn't burn it though, because then it kind of gives us a better understanding of the town and be able to see a good bit of it. But it's you know, it's pretty fascinating. Right here, you guys, is the old historical Charleston Road. Right here. So right in this area where that sign is was actually considered the old Charleston Road. Yeah.
That's neat. There's some more animals.
It's actually pretty cool that they can actually like pinpoint exactly where these roads may have been.
Yeah.
Because I bet you it took a lot of time to be able to do that.
North, south, east, west.
Yeah.
It's the rain.
Yeah, I zoomed in over here, over there, and seen that. Because that one over there, on that corner, is the southeast corner village. So right here in these openings where it's cut, was where there was buildings at one point before the British burned the town. The reason why the British burned the town is to make sure that the Patriots had no way of being able to use this area after they were defeated.
Oh.
Mama, I see something.
They had like the same mindset as like
Something in the woods, Mama.
like Sherman in the Civil War.
The colonials,
No, the British.
the British burned the town?
Yeah.
Mama.
Okay, you guys. So right here in 1773, law and order in the Carolina backcountry, the jail and courthouse. So right here, it's giving you guys. This was the 96 jail stood on this site, and the courthouse was about 100 yards from it, near the Charleston Road. After the Revolutionary War, the jail fell into repair, and its bricks were reused for other purposes. But from 1772, when it was completed through the siege of 1781, the jail and nearby courthouse elevated this frontier town's status from a remote wilderness outpost to a place of law and order and civilization. So this kind of gives you an idea. So right there would be the jail. Then you have a soldier out here that would, you know, check on the inmates or prisoners that was there. And then just kind of gives you a better understanding of the town, the people there. As you can see, there is a man being taken to jail for violating some of the laws in the town. There's a picture of what it may have looked like inside the jail at the time. So right here in front of me, we'll go ahead and zoom in. But this would be the jail site, right there. Right there on that sign. And if you zoom out, you can just see how big that jail used to be with those white boundaries. So that is actually a pretty cool little piece of history. See that, babe? Right there would be where the jail stood.
Daddy. Daddy.
Huh?
There's a deer in the woods over there. There's a deer in the woods.
Oh, I seen him. I was saying that's where the old jail sat.
Yeah.
Daddy, you see a deer?
I seen it, baby.
Huh?
There's deer all over this place.
Deer, turkey, bird, spiky, flowers,
Copperheads.
anteaters. Can I ask you something? I was a baby on the park.
All right.
I just saw an anteater.
All right, you guys. So we are coming up on another sighting of the old town itself. I'm going to zoom in as well and give you guys an idea of what that village or site may have been during its time when 96 was actually a town and they were being occupied before it was burned in 1781 by the British forces right before they left the town. But right here would be the communication trenches. So right here would be the communication trenches, and then right there to the left they have another one of those metal figurines, and it looks like a lady carrying a bucket of water that may have been used during those times to wash their clothes or even wash some of the dishes or just cleaning in general. Not really sure, but it just kind of gives you a better understanding of the things that they were doing during those times. There's another little thing on the spring branch. So women would come here through these creeks right here, and they would gather the water which would come from the spring branch, and they would use this water for many different things. And then right here where we stand, there is a brochure that kind of gives you the Cherokee Path. So we're going to hold on to that and just read a little bit about it. I grab a lot of these brochures to try to read on it because it holds a lot of history. This actually would tell you about the Cherokee Path and the Native Americans that actually was on this land at the same time. So I'm going to hold on to that as well. That gives you guys a better view of that. Now we're coming up on some of the pieces of the town, it looks like, that they... Hey babe, look. I think it's some of the town. Yeah. Alright you guys, so we are actually coming up, and I'm not sure if it's the actual, what may be left of the town, or it could be the stockade that was here during the Revolutionary War. If that's the case, I'll leave it in this video because it's the second part. But you kind of get an idea. Yeah, looks like it is. In November 18th through the 21st, 1775, the American Revolution comes to the South. 6 years before the Star Fort siege, there was Williamson Fort. You are standing at the site of the first Southern land battle of the Revolutionary War. The men fighting here were all Americans, loyalists, supported British rule. The Patriots wanted independence from the Crown. The location of 96 at the junction of several major routes between the interior backcountry and the coast made a strategical post during the American Revolution. The battle here in 1775 was participated by loyalists who seized a shipment of gunpowder intended as a gift of friendship from the new Providence Congress to the Cherokee Indians. In response to the hostile act, Patriot Major Andrew Williamson mustered 500 troops at 96 and prepared to meet the enemy. His men built a makeshift fort in this field. This simple square structure was made of fence rails, baled hay, and beef hides, and enclosed a barn and outbuilding. On November 19th, 1775, the Loyalist commanders Captain Patrick Cunningham and Major Joseph Robinson arrived with 2,000 men. Though greatly outnumbered, the Patriots in the fort would not surrender. Several days of fighting followed, leaving several wounded on both sides and one Patriot dead. James Birmingham was the first Patriot killed in the South in the American Revolution. A Loyalist officer captured, Captain Looper, also died. Days later, a truce was arranged. The fort you see now is not an original structure, but a partial reconstruction of the 1781 stockade fort. So that's actually pretty cool. So now we know the first Patriot that was killed during the American Revolution here in the South was Mr. James Birmingham. So that is actually pretty cool to know that that kind of information. I mean, it's sad, but it's also a great piece of information and history to know, you know, the first patriot that was a casualty during their cause, during the Southern campaign, you would say. So we're going to go ahead and walk up to this reconstruction of that fort. Right here you can see another replica of a soldier made out of those metal. And it looks like there is a burial or some kind of plaque. And I believe it is for Mr. James Birmingham, of the first patriot that was actually killed during the Southern campaign or South battle with the Loyalists or the British. So that's actually pretty cool. Yes, it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, I stand here at the site of where Mr. James Birmingham was a volunteer of the Long Cane Militia. He was killed at this site in the battle on November 19th through the 21st, 1775, the first South Carolinian to give his life in the cause of freedom. And this battle was the Battle of 96. Took place on those days. This is his monument right here, you guys. So right here is the first patriot that was killed. The first South Carolinian to give his life in the cause of American freedom from the British. And then we're going to walk this way to go into that reconstructed fort, which is right here in front of me. You got these walls that was made of logs that was sharpened on the top, kind of giving that more aggressive approach to the enemy. So here we are. We are babe, I just seen something. This fort right here is Robert E. Lee's spot where his dad was.
Are you serious? Robert E. Lee's father?
Harry Lighthorse Lee.
Oh my gosh, that's
Here, I'm gonna read it.
Oh yes, definitely.
All right, you guys. So we are here. Now, this took place on June 12th, 1781. Lighthorse Harry Lee takes the Stockade Fort. This is a picture of Henry Lee. And then there's the Brigadier General Andrew Pickens. Now, you are standing in a partial reconstruction of the Stockade Fort as it appeared in 1781. Archaeologists have identified remnants and see the outlines of the log buildings that existed here. An elevated firing step called a banquet was located at the base of the Paris wall. Step up to the banquet before you and peer through the vertical wooden post. This is the view of the loyal soldiers had as they stood guard over the town of 96. In June 1781, while General Greene's tired troops laid siege to the Star Fort on the north side of town, Patriot Lieutenant Colonel Henry Lighthorse Harry Lee and his Continental troops arrived here on the west side of 96 to lead support. Occupying lead was Brigade General Andrew Pickens, commanding 400 South Carolina militiamen. Lieutenant Colonel Lee's mission was to capture this loyalist stronghold for the Patriots. His initial attempt did not succeed. At noon on June 18th, as part of Greene's final assault on the Star Fort, Lee's men attacked here again. This time, they easily breached the stockade walls, but their success was short-lived. Greene's failure to take the Star Fort forced all the Patriot troops to make a swift exit from 96 before British reinforcements arrived. Okay, so who knows who Harry Lighthorse Lee is? Anybody? Well, Harry Lighthorse Lee is the father of Robert E. Lee, who was a great American Civil War general. So his father was a lieutenant in our cause for freedom against Britain. So that is actually wonderful that I was able to touch that, be able to see that. So it just kind of shows you that Robert E. Lee and many other generals in the American Civil War had fathers that was in the Revolutionary War for our freedom against Britain. So that is a great piece of history that I was able to witness. I am actually very excited to be able to stand here today and actually witness a location where Lee's father actually battled against the British. So that is a great piece of history to be able to see. There is a picture of Henry Lee, Robert E. Lee's father. So that is actually pretty cool. And then this is the guy that he worked beside during the attack. So with that, you guys, we're going to continue walking into the fort. Now we are inside the stockade fort, where the Patriots attempted a attack on the Loyalists, our British, to overtake the town of 96. Now it was a couple of attempts that they worked on to be able to try to overtake this. Now they were successful at taking this, but all the attacks kind of fell apart when the other general that was trying to take the Star Fort failed to succeed in the attack there. This one kind of had to push him back because the other effort at the other fort was unsuccessful. So that's a terrible turn of events at the time. But like I was saying, just to be able to be on the same ground and the same spot where Robert E. Lee's father actually fought with his men during the time that we were gaining our independence from Great Britain. It holds a special spot in my heart now. I can't believe that I actually am standing on the same grounds as not only our patriots that fought against Great Britain, but where Robert E. Lee's dad actually battled as well. But that is always a great piece of history. But with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.